Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to some more Proving Grounds action. I'm yet again in Rapture. Grab joined here by Dean Level Fox. Mary Dean, let's talk about that EGA versus 100 Thieves Game 1 series, because, man, it's like there were gaps, but like it was evident gaps as things went along the way.
Things were kind of crazy. They started off like back and forth, a lot of these kind of fishing things from the likes of Pooh, and finally able to convert on one after a number of them missed out due to Mystique's just like dominating inside of that laning phase. One of the bigger things, though, again, we had highlighted a number of times. Bottom lane is where you want to put some of the focus, where you want to pay attention to, because Luger, again, one of the more veteran players, an insane player in his own way, one of the best ADCs we have in this tournament, if not outright the best. Here, dominating the likes of Team Luke. The rest of the map not able to convert all that much. This is one of those rare plays where like Jojo gets to kind of like express his skill up against the likes of Luger, who is up a fair amount over top of him right here, able to find this solo kill in the mid lane as his team was able to find a bit more. But there wasn't a ton of action. There wasn't a ton of this that happened. There were a couple of really bright moments for EGA, but they never really got to put their pieces together and find the play that they were really looking for. It felt like a lot of the time and a lot of the pacing of the game was just held by the side of 100 Thieves almost entirely.
Yeah, right from the beginning, you saw it, right? Just how much pressure they were able to exert across the entire map, especially onto Jojo Pion. And we're looking a lot of that off the back of Chad Jungle, too, on this Viego. He just has just fantastic roaming, too. He did great in the series, what was like 7-0, like, so absolutely popped off and denying some critical moments for 100 Thieves to be able to just like try to get ahead in the game and going up against the likes of the Lee Sin from Tomio, which is this is his first competitive game on this pick.
Yeah, I had to double check that. I knew something was going off. There was an alarm bell in my head when they picked the Lee Sin at B1, and I'm like, this doesn't seem like an EG champion. Specifically, it doesn't seem like a Tomio champion. As it turns out, it's not just like not popular for him to take. This is actually his first recorded game on competitive server or in competitive history so far over the last year or so that he has picked this Lee Sin. This is the first time they're busting it out against the side of 100 Thieves, and they go for it at B1. This is insane to me to think that they had this much confidence in it. And there were times where Tomio made it look like he knew exactly what he was doing. There were times where he made those kind of mechanical plays that you would expect from a Lee Sin player. But unfortunately, again, some of that early action that you normally get out of Tomio, especially fighting the opposing jungler, getting into lanes, felt like it just wasn't there at the same level on this Lee Sin as other champions. Maybe they can kind of fix that in game number 2 with other things, different game planning, that kind of thing. But ultimately, I think more comfort for him could be helpful for kind of establishing a bit more of an early game here for EG.
And we know that EG's top set is definitely the focus, the name of the game, right? We know like the skirmish, we know that that's where a lot of the powers come from. And considering they were going up against Gamsu too, likely playing that tank, right? Like if they focus a lot more the efforts in a Tony top, making sure that he can roam, going for more of these 5v5s and just getting Jojo up here on the head, then EG kind of delivers on all the win cons. But unfortunately, other things is first to take. Chad able to deny a lot of that. Tomio not able to do a ton either on the Lee Sin, which is meant to be that like bridge that gap between early to mid game with these 5v5s that EG had drafted for themselves. So going into game number 2, I would like to see like a little bit more of the skirmish heavy side that we see from EGA a lot. Like we mentioned before, they like to bring a lot more people in terms of the conversions. 2v2s, 3v3s is really where they built up a lot of their leads. So it should be interesting considering they're on blue side yet again, Dean.
It's something that I want to see EG really attack the map. Right there, I mean, you talk about Gamsu's relatively new, Chad's relatively new. Neither one of them had particularly pressing matchups where they were kind of under stress to begin the game, or at least pressure wasn't applied to the level that I think they wanted. They gave a relatively free laning phase into the bottom side. Again, Varus Leona feels really strong in its combination. Even if you aren't able to capitalize with solo kills the way that Luger did in a couple of soaks, that still feels like a fine bot lane. To me, they just need attack. Like, they need something that can actually say, I'm going to fight you right now. And they didn't seem to have that. Jojo Pion had a couple of moments on his Lucian that looked really good. But outside of that, they didn't really have much of it. Like, you have, like, Tristana for Team Luke's in the bottom lane. Bust out Tristana and attack Luger. Like, don't let him sit there. Go for something like Nidalee. Go hunt down the opposing jungler. Things like that to ramp up some of the pressure on these members of 100 Thieves. Don't allow them to sit there and get into this team fighting phase, because that's clearly what got 100 Thieves out of this game with relative ease, is it's EG just needing to make more plays happen, kind of generate their own momentum.
Now we know that since they are the EG jungler, so they have to have a Nidalee, so it would be a lot of fun if the Pizza Dog got picked in this game. But as of right now, like, we do have to kind of wait and see though. A lot of my eyes are yet again going to be looking at the bots yet again, right, for Thieves, because that was such a main point in contention, and we just saw how much Luger was able to just run with his team from that pick. So if we're looking at this game for EG, I want to see a little bit more adaptations to not just like, leave your bot lane a little bit more on the weak side. Although the Thresh pick was great though, like just being down a level and just kind of being punished so early on definitely led to the overall snowballing momentum how this is able to build up though. And we know EG, they're known for the snowball. They're known for just running over their teams. They're deciding, no, you fight on our terms and on our time. Should be interested to see how they kind of adapt that going a little bit more forward here, Dean.
Hopefully they're able to find something that worked for them, because again, in another game like that, things got stalled out. If you look at the end of game record, that game looks a lot less competitive on paper than it does in person. But honestly, like, even having watched through it in person, it was pretty just lax in terms of what happened on EG side. For 100 Thieves also, I mean, I can appreciate that they did go at least a little bit more farm heavy for their jungler, a little bit more defensive for their top laner. That's the expectation, and they were able to play into their bottom lane, just kind of isolating that lane. If they're able to continue to play in that style time and time again, this team does look extremely well fleshed out. When you think about what Ryoma was able to do, where he soaked a bunch of the pressure in the early game, still was able to scale up on the Orianna and do perfectly fine in the later stages, team fight well, hitting shockwaves on a number of members. As long as your bot lane is doing fine and your mid lane is able to kind of operate at that level we know where Ryoma is able to, you just have to make sure that nothing else is going poorly across your map. So when you have Diego, Graves for Chad, that kind of thing, when you have these tanks that are able to neutralize the laning phase, 100 Thieves are just in this bread and butter comfort zone.
And we were mentioning this mid matchup before as well, just at the beginning of the day, right? Just between Jojo and Ryoma, two extremely mechanically gifted characters who have at the past been defaulted to, playing things like Lulu and Karma. To be fair though, Lulu is the highest win rate picks for both of these laners, which is really funny, by the way. But I don't imagine we'll actually be seeing it going into today. But nonetheless, though, right? Because Ryoma able to respond to a lot of the aggression from Jojo early on, and considering how Chad was kind of focusing around there too, like they've just made sure that he didn't get out of the lane either. And then Tomio had to focus a lot of his attention to see that, hey, Jojo, you're a little bit far forward. Now I gotta just chill here, right here in the bush to make sure that you don't die. Because Jojo, if you're dying, would be bad though. And you mentioned about topside, no one, like nothing else going bad across the entire map, right? Yamsu is on the tank, up against his cannon, right? He's gonna get poked down, but mentioned a neutralizing lane and one that he felt very, very comfortable with, and especially with the likes of the Ornn as he got to the mid game. 100 Thieves and both EGA, especially EGA, have to be very careful with the took these fights, because we mentioned the game a lot, right? All those tight corridors around objectives and the setups coming out from Poom really allowed like 100 Thieves to exert their dominance over EGA to make sure that there was no cannon flanks coming in, and nothing that really the Lee Sin could do to just pick off one person after the other. And the Chad by the end, it was just so scaled up that things were just an easy, clean sweep from there.
I'm gonna take us into a different path, because there was a lot of words you just used.
Yes.
All right. So I want to give some context to our junglers too. We talked about our mid lane matchup, which was, I mean, obviously people know Jojo Pianis. He's now been in Academy for a little while, and then obviously Ryoma as well. Our junglers are two of the newest members here for both of these teams, and they're two of the youngest members on both these teams. You have Telmio on one side, only had just been kind of moved up. He was brought up right around the time that roster locks had come about to make sure that they could keep him in that organization, because obviously EG does not want to lose him. He was insane down at some of the amateur level, semi-professional stuff, and kind of converted extremely well in some of those situations. Now gets to play for this Academy team and is stepping into that role as you had contracts kind of step into the main roster and trade off roles there for a while. And on the other side, Chad obviously kind of even newer than Telmio. Telmio's been around for about a year, something like that, and we knew extremely talented jungler, one of the next up on the block. Chad only came in this split, was the new jungler for 100 Thieves next, after a couple of members got swapped out at that mid-season around after spring and before the summer split had actually started. And that was about the time that 100 Thieves really did turn the corner. The addition of Gamsu was part of that as well. When you hear a name like Gamsu, who's played previously for like Fnatic, you go, oh wow, Gamsu's a lot of that. But Chad had a very big impact on what 100 Thieves next was actually able to accomplish. Busio was another one of those who also is now on 100 Thieves organization. But these two junglers that had stepped out of semi-professional, both of them had incredibly good results and were very good junglers there, which is why you're getting to see them kind of on display for both these squads here today.
Well, let us see if Chad can have the same sort of impact and presence from 100 Thieves next to 100 Thieves Academy too. But so far, he definitely has made his presence known. As we head into draft though for game number 2, so far, pretty much the exact same bands we saw before. Nuller's taken out along with the Ziggs, both strong power picks. We know that Luger can pretty much play anything, and giving him more and more carries is definitely not what we want to see. As Rising at this time taken over, was taken out by EGA though. It was taken by 100 Thieves last time, but still Ryoma and Bojojo very proficient on these picks. As same sort of lineup we're seeing so far here, Dean.
Okay. So now we do see Graves has been left up here for the side of EG, because they had banned it out because Chad is one of the better Graves players. He has 2 recorded games over the last couple of tournaments, and he goes absolutely insane on that champion. Even in their series just last week, he was able to go completely insane on that champion, having like 10 kills or something for themselves. They left it up too. Wow. They go for the Varus first because they want that priority 4 team loop to be able to play into it. They open up for what is the least. Okay, they're going to grab Lee Sin. They're not even going to grab the Graves. They're going to go for the Tristana instead, something to attack that Varus with. I thought we were going to get the reverse matchup where it was going to be Team Luke taking Tristana, but here they're the ones who opt for the Varus on the side of EG.
Yeah, they obviously don't want to give the option yet again for Tomio to take the Lee Sin away, considering it wasn't banned up either. But maybe this may be exactly what they wanted to funnel them into, as Tomio right now hovering the Xin Zhao, though, you know, he's actually quite proficient on the champion. We know that's been a very prominent matchup in terms of jungle, and it will be locked in. So I feel like EG were definitely expecting this to so far draft going their way. I would expect a support or top pick as of right now, just to try to see how 100 Thieves respond to it for JoJo.
Interesting to see. You could go for support as well if you want to snag Thresh for Mystiques, because that is another grab that you can easily kind of slot into this position alongside the Varus in the bottom lane. Oh, interesting. Okay, it is flexible into support position, but again, JoJo has played this an abnormal amount comparative to most other champions inside, and has had a ton of success, one of his higher win rate champions, and now you're pairing it with one of the best pairings in that Xin Zhao as well. Interesting little grab. EG wanting to support this young jungler in Tomio that we had talked about. This was something when they first played off and first debuted Tomio in their matchup against C9 inside of Academy playoffs. This was the duo that really did kind of pop off in those first 2 games before the unfortunate reverse sweep. This Lulu and Tomio jungle putting on that pressure to begin with.
Yeah, and again, we already said though, like Chad's game plan too was to be able to deny Tomio by denying JoJo. So now if you can't deny JoJo, then Tomio gets to roam free though. So I would expect a lot of volatility going into that jungle matchup, going into the second game right now, Demons. We saw Orianna picked up yet again that safety for Ryoma. He did perform quite well in it before, and you still do have those ball delivery systems on the side of the Lee Sin. As you see, all the Callisto was taken out, the Braum as well will be the response from 100 Thieves, so a lot more safety be taken away from EG Academy support picks too. I would expect that to be the main sort of focus going into the next phase of draft, and yep, Leona taken away as well, but Thresh is still up and very much an option, as is Nautilus.
There is a couple of the really popular supports that are about for the likes of both of these players as they're ready to go. The big thing is Mystiques, I think, has played less champions. Poom's pool in terms of supports comparative to every other Academy support was much more diverse. You had things like Braum before anyone else was playing Braum. You had like Taric, which is something that could also join the Tristana in this bottom lane, as well as, you know, you have the ultimate to be able to deny some of the damage after the engage coming through from Xin Zhao. If timed properly, there are interactions here, but you see that support pool getting pinched off was important because, again, I think it's 100 Thieves believing that Poom's pool is far easier to access than Mystique's pool, and that's why EG, they don't continue this train. They're like, oh no, we need to keep something up. Nautilus is still available if they want to grab that one away, and then Gnar instead taken away from Gamsu to make sure he's not on something comfortable.
Yeah, we might be able to see just the I should say just the orange run back here for Gamsu, depending on what they decide to pick for him. Okay, look, I was scoffing at it earlier. I was like, there's no way people are gonna play Taric. Okay,
disrespect me again.
My bad, Rebel Fox. You know, my bad. I say go ahead on air. You are a smart man, but the The Terran being picked up already makes this game really, really exciting, though, alongside the Tristana, right? So on the Thieves have a lot more in their pocket, and one more other fantastic power pick that we've seen being very prominent into many of these matchups. I was going to say it's got to be the Rakan, but instead the Nautilus will be the pick to go into Terek. So a little bit more flexibility and more like a kind of branching off in terms of matchups we've seen for the past week. And this is the power pick for Tony Top. He doesn't want to play any more games up against Gamsu. He wants to kill you.
And he does. This is what I expected coming into the series. Is I wasn't expecting the Kennen so much, because Kennen is one of these kind of blanket champions that could come about. This would throw a little wrinkle into things, only because then we'd be sure not whether it's Lee Sin top lane or whether it's going to be the likes of the Gragas top lane, which has been previous. Nah, he defaults to the Shen. This is kind of Gamsu's specific champion. Not a bunch of people are playing this, although I think it is rather strong. But this is the weak side preference here for the likes of Gamsu. This means he's going to attack the rest of the map as much as possible, and you can see this sort of style starting to come together, where now Luger gets to press his W button for free because he's got E and Q from Terek. He's got W and Q, my apologies, from Terek, alongside the ultimate from a Shen, and then also you got W from Lee Sin that can follow from a distance, the ball that could be added onto him. You're talking like thousands of health and shielding that can be applied to this champion all at once to allow him to jump in on top of anyone and just blow them up immediately, especially in the earlier stages. That combination with Terek can allow him to be so aggressive into Team Blue.
So things I expect to see this game. Number one, anti-heal being built up. Number two, anti-shield being built up. But considering, because it's like just if we're looking at Shen, like Orianna, Lee Sin, Carrot, but with Serpent's Fang not being the greatest item, maybe not, it might not benefit you too much still. But let's talk a little bit about what EG can accomplish going into 100 Thieves here, team.
Okay, well, number one, you do still have this very powerful, just pure kind of engage button to work with. Tomio pressing his W, pressing his E, and then the ultimate coming out from Jojopyun usually means if he's able to tag a couple of members, especially the Tristana or the Orianna inside of a fight, that's going to throw a bunch of disruption. All of a sudden, 100 Thieves, they're playing on the back foot for the most part, especially when that combination comes together. Not to mention, Mystiques with this Nautilus can do some pretty crazy things, picking out members specifically, pressing the ultimate on members as they split the levels of this fight all together, because Shen's going to be kind of dashing forward, Lee Sin's going to be doing the same thing. So if you can hit someone on the back line, you can double up, hitting your frontliners and then hitting into that back line as well. So there is at least a little better team fight here. I think the range from Team Luke is something you have to pay attention to as well, because that is interaction that you get with these arrows, with the chains of corruption that was there more specifically for Luger in the previous game into what is like the Tristana, who's relatively low range. Orianna has a little bit, but you've got mostly melee champions here on the side of 100 Thieves that you can't really interact with when it comes to how far away Varus can put in damage. When you look at the rest of this team, I mean, they're all pretty low range. Like, Lulu's not going to do too much. You got melee Xin melee Jax that will be a menace in the side lane, which is something to consider. But I think a 4-1 is eventually going to be on the table here from the side of EGA, with Jax just constantly putting pressure onto the Shen. And if his ultimate / his TP are not available for the 5-on-5 setup, there is the potential that you can just rip that away from the side of 100 Thieves, as long as you've got that split on the map in the 4-1.
Get the war down to you though, but Chad just barely can't take it. So they're gonna know. There's a little bit of pathing a little bit early on. It looks like he won't decide to change any of it though for now, as he will actually get the leash as well from Gamsu. So they'll like they already didn't know that he was starting topside, but now they know that he'll be a little more accelerated in terms of the clear though. Both junglers start on the exact same side, but game number 2 being upon us here though, Dean. A couple of main things I want to focus on going into this game, right? Especially early jungle pathing, although that's already a given considering what we've seen Chad do, but this bot side, especially you mentioned a lot between Luger and Poom though, if they're able to have the same sort of success, then I'm sure that we'll see perhaps a similar result though. But Tony Top could likely become a menace this game, which I'm very, very excited for.
I think this composition for EGA looks a lot more comfortable than what we saw in the previous game. Not even just the Lee Sin, but just across the board for the most part. It feels like what we see here, Team Luke's got more range and a little bit more safety by staying further back. You've got Mystiques who can play a bit more of a team or mid fighter. Ooh, actually bottom lane, they get level 2 so quick!
Oh, they flashed it already, Poom ignited.
Get him.
One more auto.
Oh,
the Guardian proc! No! The Guardian proc actually saves his life in the last second heal.
He's not even leaving. He knew what was happening. That was calculated. That's Poom. He knew. Look at this. He didn't back off. He wasn't running away. He's not scared. He knew exactly what was going to happen.
This is why this man is the lifeguard. He doesn't panic under like bad situations. Cool as whatever you want to be on the beach, but Jojo Kyun might unfortunately go cold as that's first blood for Ryoma.
Trading back and forth in this mid lane, you do have picks to help you out, but like over time, I think it is difficult. Oh, Tomio wants to smoke against Jack as well.
Gets the knock up instead, but he knows Ryoma's there. Flash in, flash cleared out. Not gonna get the slow instead. Those mistakes. Roams on up. Jojo's here. They don't want this fight. He misses the Q and he's gone. Hook back in, and they get the run back with the double kill. 100 Thieves overextending.
Yeah, well, right there, they look for the kill onto Tomio because they got the 2v1. They know the TP's coming out, but that pressure that they had put onto Boom on the bottom side did end up getting converted. Big props to the side of EG's bot lane, who end up showing up there a lot faster, forced them into a rough situation, and then, of course, Tomio, who is kind of the benefactor of this whole situation, picks up both of those kills in response to the kill that had come through onto Jojo from Ryoma in that mid lane. Very, very good stuff. EGA able to find the response.
So far, Ryoma has seen a lot of trouble to flash in. Okay, all right. I think that's the first time I've seen a Lulu solo kill in lane, like level 4, bro.
See,
what?
You want to know what's crazy is we've had people in Academy do it before. You want to know who the last person that did it was? It was Ryoma! Ryoma's the one on the Lulu that's killing people inside of the laning phase. And here, Jojo puts it to him instead, wanting that as much as possible. That's the jump that we're talking about.
Look at the jump, a lot of stun and the ignited. That's just a free kill. The back and forth gets the flash out of him though, but a lot of sun's blown bot side for 100 Thieves. This is lit, bro. This is what's up.
This is so much better. Last game was like slow paced. They were much more methodical with their movement. This is a lot more interaction as fast as possible inside of this lane. We already had a Lulu solo kill. We've had a double kill in the mid lane after the response play with TP. We had the bottom side play where that Guardian barely saves somebody's life. This game's so fun. This is that solo kill, I believe, all over again, where Ryoma's just getting autoed down by the picks. Jojo Pyun, I think, was really upset that he didn't get to kill him with just the application of that E, because it took him to probably single-digit health. So there was that, at least, that he didn't want to have to trade his life for that one immediately. But fortunately, he's willing to take just the 1-for-1, because I think that harms the Orianna and does help the Lulu, because you get all the cheap itemization.
Oh, no. Okay, they get the slide into Ryoma there. Luckily, Chad there for the support. Misses the Q, though. Told me a lot of trouble. He's just gonna die. Shut down from Ryoma. Now, Jojo as well. They don't want to look for the dive. He doesn't have... He still has level 5, so they're fine for now. But, this is what I wanted to see out of EGA. This is the EGA that we know and love.
Combining their mid and jungle together, both teams willing and capable of doing this time and time again. And here, we're seeing that to direct effect. I think a turret shot came in there, which is what cost Tomio more of his life than I think he wanted to give up, which was, I guess, any of it right there. He didn't want to go down in that 2v3 or 2v2 situation. As that's now opened up Ryoma to pulling 4 or 3 kills in this earlier stage, helping this Orianna accelerate past this laning phase against the Lulu. Super helpful situation to be in. I will say this top lane is still perfectly fine for Tony Top. This Shen matchup, it's not particularly simple to just get like solo kills in, but again, eventually that side lane is going to go towards the Jax and very heavily a Plum, and it's going to be all about how Gamsu kind of mix these rotations about the map. But right now, Tomio with the 2 kills and with the Lulu behind him is still a very powerful entity. Ryoma, thankfully, pulling those 3 kills is going to be able to transition into mid-game and strength and team fighting a lot faster. Bottom lane's the big one. Another advantage here early for the likes of Boom and Luger.
Yet again, you see, they just keep pushing in Team Luke over and over, and we were talking about this Veritas pick at least helping them get like a little bit more agency in lane. Like when we pushed in like last time, we don't have to overextend a little bit either, right? So just so how Boom could just go in on it. But as of right now, still though, although with the wave crashing, this Tarek pick has just been so beneficial for Luger because it allows him to play how he wants to. He wants to be forward, he wants to be getting into the face of his opponent, and now he has absolute no fear doing so. As how the Thieves with his bot lane Cryo get the first dragon, something they weren't able to do last game.
It's quite nice because there are not a lot of bunch of champions that, like, especially when a Nautilus is able to get Aftershock and have the shield, you're not able to box typically with him.
But they get the lockdown though, nice stun. That actually doesn't land, but Tomio is on the back end as they burn the ignite, but they're fine. Ouch, that hurt a little bit, but they're still fine.
But they are able to get that 1A. Okay, Chad's actually coming in mid lane. More damage from Lulu!
Shockwave 2, one after another. Okay, oh, the big wild growth. He lands a Sonic Wave into a resonating stay right.
Damsu threw the ultimate in there somewhere just for an assist, just to try to pull something out the rest of everything else. Man, this Lulu is just abusive towards this Orianna. Thankfully, Chad is around to try to prevent this because Ryoma's been able to pull a couple of plays off the back of the number of ganks that they put into this Lulu pick to begin with. Man, I cannot believe the damage this poor Lulu is being, I guess, given by this Lee Sin and then also dealing out to the likes of Orianna. And nice response also, given the fact Tomio went bottom lane to try to convert onto something. They were able to get out without actually getting ganked whatsoever. Tomio didn't even press a button against either Luger or Poom, and that ended up leading to Chad having this opening in mid lane.
Ooh, they forced a flash out for now, though, but you see he's locked in. There we go, the ultimate away, though, but I guess Luger is asserting his dominance, but one big point I want to raise, actually, might stop as Tomio, there's no real response to him. You see Jojo's roaming up as well, so that's going to be a free Rip Herald, but we're talking to, Chad before. He even mentioned that if you give Ryoma resources, he's going to carry. Well, he's giving him every resource in the game right now.
He's giving him quite a few. He's already farming very, very well. Has this advantage that in the previous game was held by Jojo on the Lucian instead, which is very beneficial. I will say, against the likes of a Lulu, denying gold in the earlier stages isn't as impactful because you're going for cheaper itemization as it is. But ensuring that gold is going into your Orianna is a very, very valuable thing. So it's not like they're denying Lulu gold, which doesn't matter as much. The important part of getting gold for your Orianna is happening. It's not like they're like pushing Jojo off of waves or doing damage and shoving him out. That was a mystifying hook around that corner, and Luger has got to be frustrated about that one, as it denies the back timing coming through.
That was impressive, honestly, and now with this too, they're able to crash the wave, which does kind of suck as well. Yeah, get another shockwave, and not to Tomio, they don't have to land the Q, but he's getting poked out. Just all these autos are doing just so much damage, and Jojo as well can't really help out as jungler. But this 2v2 scrap around the mid lane here, Dean, is what we expected, what we wanted to see more of, and we're seeing it tenfold, but it's just been like, hasn't resulted in much, except just a couple of flashes blown, but I believe it's only a matter of time.
I believe what was happening right there is I think Tomio was coming in just to try to help shove the wave for Jojo so that he could walk away. And what ended up happening was that Chad was able to match that and kind of stalled out. It bought time for a blue buff to be taken, because if Ryoma was stuck under tower long enough and Jojo maybe TP's back to lane, you can't really leave mid lane to go grab that blue buff, second blue or third blue, away from the likes of Chad jungle. Instead, would have had to stay there because Lulu would have been able to force you into a bad situation. So right there, it kind of unlocked Ryoma to be able to go over, walk, and take that blue buff so that you can have this pushing power against the likes of the Lulu this early. With the AP, with the sword shoes that exist in this Orianna, now you've got mid-push. This is what required Tomio to show up here in the first place, and now with the blue buff, Ryoma's in an even better situation to start having better interaction with the map. Lulu no longer has this massive advantage where you can just like press buttons into Orianna in the laning phase and cost everything else from everything to just a whole constant, like a health advantage. Instead, now it's going to be Orianna who should be able to move out a lot faster, start helping out Chad and using the shockwave hopefully inside lane.
Look at bot side though, we see that Chad is already there, looking for a potential lane gank as he moves in. No wards either, so we'll be able to spot this as he would ward the bush. Poom setting up alongside his junglers. We're slowly pushing in. I mean, Mystique's and Team Luke might have been able to sniff this considering how far back they're playing in. There's a Bears Nautilus lane. They don't have to be this far forward either. Yep, they're chilling under the tower. They could go for a potential dive. They're already here, but maybe they might just want to force it onto the tower as it is all thwarted.
This is just threatening to be in this situation for EG. Just because Chad is still in the area, it's very easy to try to set something aggressive up as the likes of Poom with a Lee Sin and a Tristana, both of whom can jump in. Especially with the ultimate available, you can see also now, I think Vision Toggle was able to catch that Ryan spotted out. EG just have to leave. Shockwave's going to be available, but nobody's there for follow-up, even if they do tag it.
Yeah, they managed to go ahead tagging Team Luke though, and hit all the way far forward. Nice couple of assists going down, and they managed to get one as Damsu as well was almost getting dove top side, I should say. Instead, summoned the peril that leads to get top tower and making Tony top executing as win call. We're talking about making sure that he can be the side lane threat and getting to the tier 2 as well. Here for him is going to be exactly that.
I think kept the Rift Herald alive. I don't think EGA was able to keep the Rift Herald alive, so he's not going to be able to pull a charge onto the inhibitor tower as well. This is 100 Thieves. They're leaning again into bottom side, into mid lane, where your two main kind of carries are in Ryoma and Luger. The one thing is, in this game, this isn't Kennen who needs to kind of like make sure that you're in team fights, making this massive effect, that kind of thing. This is a Jax who's going to side lane eventually, and who's going to eventually kind of turn into this beast to be able to split push, and then also kind of turn into team fights, because Tony Top is a proficient team fighter on Jax compared to the majority of other that you would ever see inside of most things. Most just play the side lane. He's very good at team fighting alongside the side lane. That is a threat that has been unresponded to from the side of 100 Thieves. They haven't been able to quell anything against the likes of Tony Top, who currently sits at a 30 CS advantage. So there is that in the back pocket of EG, and they still have this powerful Lulu Xin Zhao combination. They are behind significantly to this Orianna and this.
Flash in, knock up as well. Ryoma seeing life a little bit longer. The shockwave in too, and Mystique is gone. The Carrick saving his life. Boom coming up big yet again on his signature pick. That's Tony Top is getting aggressive upon the TP into, but instead he just so goes down super duper low as all of 100 Thieves are here. Not health bars, but low amounts of mana will allow them to disengage from the fight as look at top side D.
Yeah, there was no Luger in this fight whatsoever. This is why I was like convinced nothing was going to happen. It was EGA forcing in, and I was like, okay, finally they're going to be able to convert. And what would you know? Proom presses his R button, and that entire fight is just completely turned on its head. Nothing to do to respond in that case. Yes, Wave's going to get picked up. Luger wants the fight.
A lot of damage, but just can't explode him quite yet, though. Has a lot of damage back as well. One arrow to take out his life for now, but at least he has the support of his support to make sure he stays alive.
And he does. And again, it's 100 Thieves able to actually win out in a team fight. That's the benefit of having the likes of a Tarek on your team composition, is when you press that ultimate at the exact right time, it is almost impossible to counteract. There's not much of a response you can make to people being unkillable, untargetable, anything like that. So that has made it very miserable for 100 EG to try to convert anything there, even when Tony Top was able to show up with the Jax. Thankfully, again, it was turret plates, but at least Team Luke was able to go up, respond to Luger, trade summoner spells.
Oh no.
Chad,
Chad is a little bit caught out. He gets pulled in. Nice hit back, but now his support already goes in. Misses stun, though, so far looking back and forth. Nice little front back to 100 Thieves. Big damage going on. There we go, the Lulu gone, and a jump in as well from Luger as he's just poking down every single member of Evil Geniuses. 100 Thieves come in and says, do you want more hoodies? As there we go. Now let's go down to.
I was about to say, right before we had started talking about this, or right before this started happening, we were like, okay, EGA's got at least a side laner. Twice now, they've been able to pull Tony Top into a 5-on-5 situation in which he's not putting on pressure to side towers. He's not in the one-on-one situation against the likes of the Shen. And instead, they get to use this insanely powerful Orianna and this very fed Tristana to just massive team fighting a flump. And there's not much to be done about it. Yes, you've got the Tobio, like the Xin Zhao Lulu combination. Those two aren't strong enough, and you haven't been getting this massive kind of 3, 4, 5-person engage with it. Instead, it's just kind of been falling to the wayside, being just this initial part of your fight, and not accomplishing much. And so EG, their team fighting isn't looking super well put together. You get to see that kind of on display here, where the ultimate gets burned by Jojo Pion just out of defense, the ultimate from the Xin Zhao gets burned out of defense, and the Shockwave accomplishes so much more. Like, what is EG supposed to do here? And then, you don't even want to talk about Tony Top jumping into 3 members on the back line as the fight kind of transpired over, and being left to his lonesome, not able to focus down anyone fast enough.
He's strong, but he's not that strong yet. I imagine he was thinking he was from the days of Jax Yore, when you could get 2 items and then get a pentakill, right? It was simply just that. But unfortunately, a little bit early on the take for it now, and one big thing I want to point out too with Gamsu also being able to get his first mythic, and along with Bramble, he can actually match Tony the sideway. Like, he go over slot skirmishes and won't get poked out too. So already, they're just kind of shutting down this one potential win con that EGA still holds. But nice little arrow as well to get the front of the depth spot. It may shut down. Okay. They focus their attention onto Poom, so no more heals, but the shield will keep them alive.
I can appreciate that right there, only because Luger, even with the ultimate coming up, probably would have been burst out in the right situation because of the stacks from the chain of corruption. Tomio.
Ho ho! Instead, beautiful response back. Tomio will stay alive though. They missed the arrow. Chad not here looking to fight back and forth. Warthog's back in the Mystique's Shockwave. do a ton more as he gets the wild growth on his end though. But 100 Thieves knows that all these low health bars be potential kills as Dragon is up and Baron in like 30 minutes, but Dragon man.
Props to the side of Boom, because again, he body blocking for the likes of Luger, making sure that that hook or no like further engage was going to snap onto the Tristana. Even if it costed his life, meant that Tristana was able to stick around after this was done and after the resources were burnt, trying to take him down. There's no real threat under Tristana. That's why even in that situation where that fight had been brought out, there's nothing that 100 Thieves can really accomplish. No chains of corruption, no ultimate from Tomio to be able to deny the attack damage as you come in, no wild growth to be able to knock somebody up. The best you got is like Tony Top on top of Luger, maybe using the counter-strike to get a stun, deny some of the auto attacks, put damage in like that, but even that was not even close to enough to kind of turn into Luger. The only option they've got is multiple ultimates going onto this Tristana, denying it, hoping that the shockwave from Ryoma doesn't miss. This is looking very dire for EG's fight whatsoever.
Yeah, but you see, yet again here, Dean, if you go on the Tristana, all these shields, the Shen, the like that Poom, just playing as Terran, all these heals, Ryoma even could shield him, and they'd be perfectly fine. So there's a lot of ways for them to just keep Luger alive, which, you know, in the previous game, he didn't necessarily need all the support, but right now, as a Tristana, he's going to scale up, get stronger and stronger. He's already level 11, getting his second item too, and previously, we saw how much of a menace he became, and right now, he's doing exactly that, but with the support of his team behind him. So this is looking a little bit scary right now for EGA.
It is. I want to give some massive props over to Gamsu this series. This was a rough matchup when you think about it on paper, because Gamsu plays kind of these more lane stalling picks. He's literally picked Ornn and Shen into Tony Top, who is a very considered one of the better side laners, one of the more kind of like he came out of solo queue being a Jax player, so that's kind of where he learned from in the first place, to beyond all things. You'd think he would have been able to capitalize, or they would have played a lot more towards this kind of solo lane style, getting Tony Top ahead, letting him get an advantage over top what was guaranteed to be a more tank-like matchup. But over the course of the series, Gamsu's had a massive impact. Tony Top hasn't been playing particularly terribly, because he's been playing out the side wave pretty well. The Kennen wasn't able to get big team fights or anything like that, have that kind of impact. But mostly Gamsu also had just kind of turned over a leaf. In the previous series, was a little bit rough. But you know, up against a very sizable opponent, up against somebody who is you know, a mountain of an opponent here in the likes of Tony Top, which we pointed out before the series had started, has actually been more than holding his own.
100%, right? And we've been talking about these rookies the entire time. You know, both Chad and Gamsu, there were a lot of questions around them, with them replacing Tenacity and Ken, be like, what's going to happen? What's going to be the style of play for 100 Thieves? But then coming up from 100 next, like, they've really been able to hold their own. And like you said, right, first week was a bit back and forth, but they're just taking this Baron. They're just taking, okay.
There's no vision. They only just spotted it out. I'm curious if they just stay on it, which they probably should do. Oh, it's low. Yeah, they just take it right here, right now.
Yeah, they already been able to go in on in, but one back and forth. There we go. The stays alive. Chad able to get the Baron away, but a lot of damage we put down so far. Already one kill in, so a lot of damage here, a lot of potential engage options as Boom doesn't have a ton of man, has saved it for the heals, but Tony Top is saving the way. Tomio at the backside, who manages to dodge the shock when he goes into 5 people. Okay, he's doing a lot right now. Then have to run away. A lot of damage we put in. Tomio is just chasing them down. All these low health bars from the Baron means that EGA stay alive. What?
See, this is the team fight that I've been waiting for from EGA. When these ultimates get decent effect, in this case it was really only the wild growth that didn't really get too much, also like a couple of others. But like, when you can use your front line of Tony Top with Counter-Strike and his ultimate, Tomio's ultimate as well, to deny damage, kind of separate players apart, it's so easy to try to play this out. It's so easy to try to focus down members in a couple of different places. You see, that's a large part of what happens right here. When Tomio's able to hit multiple targets, the ultimate, they deny the shockwave. When these things happen properly, EGA can contest very easily. Now, out of fairness, 100 Thieves was taking a fight immediately after a Baron. Probably shouldn't have been doing that all too much, especially into a team that still had a very high health bar on 3 of the members and a lot of the ultimates that were still available. It's not by any means game-breaking here for EGA, but again, it does stand as a pillar of like what could have been happening throughout the entire game if they were able to do things like avoid the shockwave, or better yet, set up their own ultimates in very meaningful, effective ways into multiple targets.
Right now, though, with this chance that EGA has been given, I want to see how they're able to deny more from 100 Thieves, right? Although they've also had a fair amount of power spikes on their end, too. It's like, gonna come down to this next dragon. It is Soul for 100 Thieves, an Infernal Soul nonetheless. A dangerous one on their end, as although we do have a little bit of Baron buff still on their side, right? Although with not all these members having it, and them doing a really good job of actually matching the sideways as well. EGA have reached a bit more of a neutral point here, Dean, is looking at the setup, looking at the stakes here too.
It is EG just trying to bully their way up mid lanes. They try to just like contest into the river. They spot out everybody. You got to see a big ultimate combination from Tomio Jojopian. That's pretty much the only way that they're able to start this fight up. You see Tony Top is spotted out. Only just now they're going to
go in, but kick back as well. Nice little fade away from the Chad, but instead, okay, he stays alive somehow for this long. Big Sun coming out of Tony Top.
Oh, the shockwave!
But doesn't really matter. Shockwave again responds beautifully. Gamsu chasing down a lane opponent, and Luger as well, gonna kill Tony Top. A double kill from the mid laner, from Ryoma. Make that a triple kill, baby, as they head down mid lane.
Massive props to a couple of members here. We've seen it on a couple of occasions. Number one, Ryoma Shockwaves in pretty much every situation have been just amazing to see in the way that they've been able to use it to just like capitalize team fight after team fight in a number of ways. But number two, very simple, when you have counter engaged to the likes of what is the Xin Zhao and the Lulu combination, it's really hard to try to re-engage off the back of that. Mystique's is just going to get run down, and eventually they're going to get this kill, so that's all going to happen no matter what. I got to give props to Poom. Creativity of the pick, allowing Tristana to be more aggressive, shielding, healing, able to box with the likes of the Nautilus in the laning phase, and above all things, counteraction to this Xin Zhao Lulu combination. That right there, that's the battle song getting popped. You see, the ultimate from the Tariff would have denied any engage that was right there. It broke this fight into two pieces. Yes, Chad ended up going too far, ended up getting quite a bit, but it did lead to this shockwave because everyone had to step up to try to punish him. Tony Top ends up getting brought down. 3 members ended up going down, 4 after Tomio goes down, and yes, Mystique's took a little bit longer, ends up being the full ace. A lot of that due to the thwarting of the teamfight start from the side of EGA by Poom, and the response by Ryoma with the likes of the Shockwave. Their ultimate usage have just been amazing in this game from the side of 100.
This bot side dominance. We said it right at the beginning. We'll say it here yet again. We were looking at the focus here from 100 Thieves. What were Luger and Poom going to be able to accomplish? We know they're one of the strongest bot lanes in the academy, Luger being a highly regarded ADC, and a Poom on his back end being the ultimate forefront to make sure that he can unleash his wrath onto the Rift. Now, with this right now, they have complete control of the entire game. 6k gold ahead, though. And although Tony Top is trying to do as much as he can in the side lanes, right, with the mid inhib open, immediate mid prio, they can continue to push every other side just to bleed out EG once again here, dude.
Interesting situation to find themselves in. It's so hard to win a fight anymore from the side of EG with the amount of damage that you've got. One shockwave might be enough to actually bring down multiple members. You think like probably Team Luke gets one shot, Lulu probably gets one shot, so Jojopian in a fight. Even the Jax and the Xin Zhao probably don't last for too long. The only counteraction to this maybe is Mystique's Locket, but like a single Locket into what is an Infernal Soul 4 item, especially with an 18 stack Magi's Orianna Shockwave, not exactly your favorite prospect right here. It's just gonna call it a force. Oh, here we go. EG is trying for it.
Oh, they're already going into it. They want to get down Ryoma as well, but they can't exactly get him. Puma as well staying alive for a little bit longer.
They got him.
They get it on to Tristana, but back and forth, the jump back as well. Now Luger cannot free fire away on the back end too. Puma on the backside, big shockwave. They don't kill anybody
Everyone's
yet.
low. Everyone's low. Everyone's low.
Everyone's low. They're jumping in.
Go, Luger, go.
The pentakill for Luger as he shows EG how to live evil.
Oh, Goomba Stomp after Goomba Stomp, reset after reset. Luger, we highlighted, being the guy, one of these veterans remaining on this roster after the substitutes. This team has not missed a beat. 2-0ing EG here inside of this matchup, being able to take a very convincing series and 2 amazingly played games. Jad and Gamsu had great performances, but man, it is tough to deny just how talented Luger and Ryoma were over the course of this series.
A dominant series built up from the pressure from just specific lanes from 100 Thieves, and mainly just that bot lane, right? Just like you saw, like how much they're able to do there. And I think that really is the final bow on the present. The fact that he got a pentakill to close out the series, like it just shows how much work he's able to do. And right from the early game, right, we're talking a lot about Chad putting in work, but like, man, this entire team is stepping up and they look phenomenal week 2.
The mid jungle got so much more interesting with like the Lulu Orianna. And the funnier thing is, like, if you say those words and you're like, oh, it's Lulu Orianna, how many people would be like, oh, that's gonna be a bloodbath? Almost nobody. But here we are, because of the interaction between the two. And again, I want to just like point out, shockwave after shockwave were super important in fights, and also like the Poom's ultimates on this Taric, you were literally trading the entire combo from Xin Zhao and also the Wild Growth on top of the ultimate coming out from Xin Zhao in exchange for just the one. You were trading one ultimate for 2, and those are your main engagement ultimates. That's just something that couldn't have happened the entirety of the game. And this is all predicated on just team fighting, where you can see time and time again the number of individual plays made by 100 Thieves across the map to get gold into some of these carries. Some of the bigger ones, of course, with this Tristana being able to aggress. This was the reverse matchup. This is where, you know, EG said, we want the Varus. This is what I would have expected for Team Luke, pulling out Tristana. It's one of his better champions. But instead, Luger says, no, I'm going to be the aggressive one. I'm going to put my foot to the gas, and I'm going to pop off of this game.
And it looks so practiced on this combination, by the way. Just their Tristana alongside the Taric, right? Like, they know exactly what they're doing. Exactly like you're saying here, Dean. The shockwaves, all the abilities used to get done onto one person, but Poom doing such a fantastic job of just denying them consistently. And instead of what we've seen so far, we were actually talking to Luger as well in just a little bit. But look at this thing. Ultimate in, you take the Baron, but like, although this fight kind of goes a little bit weary afterwards for 100 Thieves, nonetheless though, EGA had a chance here, but like, man, they like 100 Thieves is denying them at every stop and corner.
I want to note also, importantly in this fight, Tomio, like, he was very, he had this ability to get into multiple members in the fight, and Tristana was super low to begin with. That is one of the main reasons. Like, if this was a full health Tristana, that fight probably doesn't end up looking as good. I hadn't even realized that when the game had actually happened, and that's part of the reason why. This is that ultimate getting traded for both the Xin Zhao and the Lulu ultimate to gather back up just to trying to capitalize on Chad. Gotta give big props to that shockwave. 3 members ripped down off the back of just that one shockwave. Props to Luger, because he ends up getting to pop off with the pentakill, which is really cool. But Ryoma over the course of the series also. You talked about, Chad had talked about, you know, wanting to make sure that their mid laner was going to get over top of Jojo Pyun, such a pivotal part of the side of EG. Tomio, one of the newer players, they wanted to exploit and try to put pressure onto that mid-jungle duo. They clearly were able to accomplish exactly that inside of this game.
Other Thieves had a plan going into it, and like, I can see while talking to Chad last night, he was just so confident. Look at this here. Stomp after bonk after bonk. Gets the pentakill by the end of it. Just beautifully well done by him. All the shield and healing from his backside, from his entire team to make sure they close it out. And yep, 100 Thieves, though, I imagine after week 1, there were a lot of different questions as to, you know, how Gamsu, how Chad were going to fit into this team. How are they going to be able to place the shoes of tenacity can be. I think they're fitting in just fine. In fact, I think they're doing pretty solid, team.
Yeah, they had great play. I like that when Chad in first game was kind of on the Viego, and it's more of a farming matchup, more of a matchup where you got to be a bit more patient. He played that way, and he played that way well. He covered when he needed to, but more importantly, he was just kind of waiting and biding his time for when he was able to pop off, and then he did. He was able to kind of capitalize on it. In this game, he needed to turn up the tempo just a little bit more, put some pressure on, try to win that mid jungle, and that he did. He takes this Lee Sin pick, he's able to body with it. Big props to Chad. Again, I gave props to Gamsu, but I'll do it again because why not give props to everybody as much as possible? Because again, he was a weak side in their first series. He didn't have the greatest of performances. He got bullied at least a little bit. Here, he held his own. He was down a lot of CS, but he at least kind of he did exactly what he was supposed to do on weak side and sandbag Tony Top's kind of interaction with the rest of the map as much as possible. Didn't give up too much in the side lane. Was able to actually generate some positive plays for his team. Big props to both of their 2 players. We could talk all day about how talented Ryoma and Luger and Poom are, but those 2 are the ones that were the big question marks. But clearly, they have already improved over the course of this last week alone, and they haven't had much time to really play with the team. So yeah, can't give them enough kind of credit to what it is they've been able to kind of do in the short turnaround.
100,000%. Honestly, just big props to all 100 Thieves and genuinely all the players that we saw here today. But now looking over onto the side of EG, right? Like, although in the first game we saw the 5v5 team comp, which can never come to fruition, and on the other end, game number 2, much more skirmish heavy, but yet again, just was never really able to be revitalized. So, Dean, a question for you here, mate. If you were to talk to the members of EGA, what are some things that you want to see them look forward to when over to the lower end of the bracket?
They seem to have there's a lot of identities that EG is capable of taking on. I feel as though this team does do better on red side than blue side, which was interesting to me because a couple of times that had come about. One of the bigger ones also is just that I feel like Team Luke kind of got low key left out to dry. Not to say that they abandoned him or didn't put resources in or anything like that. It's just that he was in a tough matchup against a very talented bot lane and it got punished, and they didn't do anything to try to counteract that at all. Still playing patient on the top stage, still playing side lane. Their mid jungle was supposed to be strong. We'll give them props because they did find a couple of times in that second game. But again, I think in the future, making sure that Team Luke's got what he needs to make sure that he can feel competitive inside that 2v2 situation is something that you're going to have to pay attention to for EG if they want to go for a much longer run. Maybe they take that run back to the 3rd, 4th place match where they can run into 100 Thieves maybe a second time and try to take that one back from themselves.
And we were mentioning yet again right at the top of the show, right? Just like a story of runbacks too, because not only if their manager meets them again, they'll likely only even be stronger and be ready for what's to come if they do, if that does potentially happen, if they're able to complete that lower bracket run. But for now, though, because we were saying it, unfortunately, they do fall here today. They weren't able to get the run back from the previous split, and we'll see if they can make that same sort of deep run that we previously did expect out of them. So 100 Thieves is right now staying on top, though, as I'm just going to note that we should be meeting with Luger in just a little bit. They're just helping him set up for as of right now. But just so focusing on the player we are going to interview here, though, right? It's like Luger definitely had some hugely massive bright spots in terms of what we've seen throughout the entire game. You were mentioning how he's such a powerful ADC, but what do you think it is about this about his style of playing bot side that really just differentiates from the rest and allows him to be so dominant?
I can't give full analysis. He's just talented in general. His mechanics are clearly there. One of the things that I notice about Luger that is it's very different from a number, and something that got played to in that second game is just his ability to play very aggressive. I noticed it when he first joined Academy for 100 Thieves on Kai'Sa, when he would ult into 3 people in the backline just trying to pull off kills, and these people it's not like he's diving into 200 health enemies or something, pressing Q and killing all of them. You're full health enemies he's ulting into trying to outplay them, which is kind of insane. And it was really cool to see that somebody had that aggressive of a trigger finger as a marksman and as an ADC in this bottom side. And that's what Luger was able to do on Tristana, which was in game number 1, he played as the Varus, who he's able to make snappy decisions, press his ultimate button, be able to catch out the Ashe, things like that, which was great. But the second game with Tristana, showing that kind of primal aggression that he can have inside of fights, wanting to always push forward and make those aggressive plays happen. That's not something you get on every single ADC. I think it's what really kind of differentiates him from so many of the others. And this game was a perfect setup for it. Because again, how many times do you get to have 1,000 shield from all the people on your team on a Tristana and then get reset seed after reset after reset? It's pretty cool.
In your team fight, when your ADC is ahead of your jungler, that's how you know that you're dealing with a different kind of ADC player.
He's built different, yeah.
He genuinely is too. It's just like I am personally, but like you were saying, it's should be a lot of fun, and we do get to talk to him just right now as we have our interview ready. So, Luger, come on up, amigo. Oh no, this is unfortunate, but Luger, can you please reach out to us if you are?
Yeah,
there?
I am. Yeah, I'm
wonderful.
I just know the camera. Yeah.
All right, that is beautiful, amigo. Firstly, by the way, man, absolutely massive congratulations onto the series, bro. Talk to me a little bit about what your mindset was going into these games 1 and 2 up against EGA.
My mindset, I believe I just know we just win these games. So yeah, it's not that. Yeah, I just know we win. So yeah. It's kind of.
Well, win you did, right? It makes perfect sense. But Dean, I want to ask you if you have questions for Mr. Lugerson.
Yeah. Tell me about Chad and
Hmm.
Gamsu being added to the roster. What is your role in kind of adapting these two new players been like?
Yeah, actually they are pretty good on the like improving, and like we working like since like 1 month maybe. I think they improve a lot, like Gamsu Chat. And I think Gamsu is like good experience too. Like since like he playing like 5 years, like he's playing like in good teams like Fnatic or like like LCS. He played in 4 years ago, I guess. But and yeah, I'm happy about that. So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, makes sense. I don't understand why you wouldn't be. It was a really impressive
Yeah.
series, though. I did want to take a look back a little bit and talk about, past EG right now, right? Are there
Yeah.
teams that you're looking forward to facing, or you guys are especially prepping for as you move and continue to make this upper bracket run?
And about EG, the I didn't expect actually that we just Hearthstone, like kind of Hearthstone. We just I mean, I think the airbot thing is kind of like odd performance. I feel like
Hmm.
and yeah, I think we just win that because of that, and like our comp is fine too. A lot of games we
Yeah.
make some mistake, but yeah.
Are there any teams at all that you're like looking forward to facing as you continue on in Proving Grounds?
Proving grounds. I think Fly is a good team, like especially bot lane. The Fly bot lane is really good, and TL I
Hmm.
think my yeah the biggest
Makes
like
sense.
I wanna match them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know
Hmm.
this is not the first pentakill at the tournament. Would you say that your pentakill on Tristana was more impressive than Armeo's pentakill on the Sejuani, or
The
do you
armor
have to get a
pen,
couple more to
yeah.
really
I
outshine
mean,
them?
yeah, armor pentakill is for sure like the like ZD kill is kind of like it's kind of normal, but like yeah, the armor is king. Like he just get like penta with like Sejuani. It's really yeah.
All right, that's it.
He's the
Phenomenal
king.
stuff here, though. But Luger, final question for you, man. Any final shout outs and things you want to get across about your team, your players, or anybody behind you?
Um, yeah, I mean, thank you for supporting. Like, I know like there's a Turkish player following me, and like with 100 Thieves. Yeah, yeah. Thank you just for following and like supporting me. And yeah, it is classic, but yeah, can't too much like say difference. Yeah.
I mean, phenomenal stuff coming out of you, man. Congratulations yet again on the series. And I'm very excited to see what you guys are able to accomplish going throughout Proving Grounds. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye. What a wonderful guy. Just like nice dude. You seem, I would want to get like a nice little cappuccino with him, sit down at a cafe and ask him about his life.
Yeah, that's the man who just like ripped through EG at the final moments of that game in a pentakill on Tristan. That's the dude who presses the Kaiser ultimate into the backline, man. He just tricks you with his kindness. It's too simple.
No fear at all. It's like the kind of dude who you like, who you go up like shake your head and he's like, it's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna crush you. It's like, wow, nice to meet you too, I guess. But amazing stuff coming out of 100 Thieves and EG. We will see what they're able to accomplish going towards the lower bracket. But for now, we're going to cut it to a short break, and we do have our second series on deck. You will not want to miss that.